He was one of Hollywood's toughest men, a real war hero who lived what he played on screen. But behind that fearless face, Lee Marvin had a secret list: 7 famous actors he couldn't stand. What drove his grudges, and why did he refuse to hide his true feelings? Welcome back to Old World Legends, where we uncover the untold stories behind cinema's most unforgettable icons. Today, we dive into the life of Lee Marvin, the battle-scarred Marine who became one of Hollywood's most authentic tough guys, from his war-torn youth to his rise as a screen legend, and the 7 stars he openly disliked. This is the untold story of a man who lived and died on his own terms. Lee Marvin once spoke candidly about the 7 actors he disliked most. Born on February 19, 1924, in New York City, he came from a family deeply rooted in military tradition. His father was a World War I veteran, and his brother also served. That early exposure to discipline and service helped shape Marvin's rugged masculinity and tough persona that later defined his screen image. As a boy, Marvin attended schools in Florida and New Jersey, but he was restless, rebellious, and often found himself in trouble. Struggling with strict academics, his wild streak would later fuel the raw emotions seen in his performances. His life changed drastically when World War II began, and he enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps at just 8, serving with the 4th Marine Division in the Pacific. Marvin fought in the fierce Battle of Saipan in 1944, where he was seriously wounded by machine gun fire that struck through his buttocks and sciatic nerve. He spent more than a year recovering in a naval hospital and received the Purple Heart. The experience left him scarred both physically and mentally, but it gave him a depth and realism few actors could match. Unlike those who only portrayed heroes on screen, Marvin had lived the reality of war. Audiences could sense the authenticity behind every soldier and outlaw he played. After returning home, he drifted through various jobs until he began working as a plumber's assistant at a community theater. By chance, he filled in for an ill actor, a moment that changed his life. Encouraged by mentors, he studied acting formally at the American Theater Wing in New York. Taught, rugged, and intense, Marvin quickly attracted attention and transitioned from stage to film. In his early Hollywood years, Marvin was often cast as tough guys, villains, and soldiers, especially in westerns and war films. His breakthrough came in the 1950s with standout roles as a ruthless gangster in The Big Heat, 1953, and a menacing thug in Bad Day at Black Rock, 1955. His threatening presence added edge to every scene. By the end of the decade, he had become one of Hollywood's most dependable tough guy actors. The 1960s marked his transformation into a leading man. In John Ford's classic, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, 1962, Marvin gave a memorable performance as the brutal outlaw Liberty Valance, holding his own against John Wayne and James Stewart. Then came Cat Ballou, 1965, where he surprised audiences with his comedic brilliance, playing both the drunken gunfighter Kid Shalene and the villain Tim Strong. His performance earned him an Academy Award for Best Actor, confirming his place among Hollywood's elite. Riding that success, Marvin became one of the most sought-after stars of his time. He led The Dirty Dozen in 1967, a landmark war film that dominated the box office and became a cultural classic. As Major John Reisman, a hardened officer leading convicts on a deadly mission, Marvin's commanding performance redefined the war action genre. Other notable works followed, including Point Blank, 1967, a stylish noir thriller where he embodied a relentless anti-hero, and Paint Your Wagon, 1969, where he surprised audiences by singing gruffly but memorably. Despite his commercial success, Marvin resisted Hollywood's expectations. Fame held little appeal for him. He preferred independence and solitude. He found peace in fishing, boating, and the outdoors, often retreating to his homes in Tucson, Arizona, and Baja California, Mexico. He was also open about his struggles with alcohol, which at times strained both his career and relationships. Still, he continued to deliver strong performances in the 1970s and 1980s. In Emperor of the North, 1973, The Klansman, 1974, Avalanche Express, 1979, and Gorky Park, 1983. Age never softened his presence. He remained a commanding figure whose rugged masculinity became rare in modern Hollywood. His final appearance came in The Delta Force, 1986, alongside Chuck Norris, fittingly as a seasoned military commander. A perfect end to a storied career. Off-screen, Marvin's personal life was equally eventful. In April 1952, as his Hollywood career began to rise, he married Betty Eblin. Their 15-year marriage produced 4 children: Christopher Lamont, Marvin 1952 to 2013, and 3 daughters: Courtney Lee, Cynthia Louise, and Claudia Leslie Marvin. 1958 to 2012. Despite the turbulence of fame and personal struggles, fatherhood gave Marvin balance and purpose. Though known publicly as a tough, no-nonsense figure, those close to him saw a gentler, family-oriented side. However, the marriage to Betty was rocky. The pressures of Hollywood, along with Marvin's drinking and erratic behavior, created growing tension. After a 2-year separation, their marriage ended in January 1967. The divorce affected both Marvin and his children deeply. Decades later, in her memoir, Tales of a Hollywood Housewife, 20, Betty shared her candid recollections of their marriage, highlighting both the glamour and the pain of being with a man consumed by his career. She also revealed Marvin's alleged affair with actress Anne Braftoft, adding further complexity to his personal image. After the divorce, Marvin's relationships drew public fascination. His long-term romance with Michelle Triola became infamous for the palimony lawsuit that followed a groundbreaking case that tested the legal rights of unmarried partners in the 1970s. Later, Marvin reunited with Pamela Feely, a childhood sweetheart. Their reunion brought comfort and stability after years of turmoil. They married in 1970, and Pamela remained by his side through his later years, supporting him during his declining health in the 1980s until his death in 1987. In 1997, a decade after his passing, Pamela published Lee, a romance, a memoir celebrating their love and offering an intimate look at the man behind the gravel-voiced persona. To the world, Marvin was the hardened star of The Dirty Dozen and Point Blank. To Pamela, he was also gentle, affectionate, and deeply human, a legacy that lived on through both his films and the people who loved him. Marvin was known for his blunt honesty, never hiding his opinions. Hollywood was stunned when he publicly admitted there were actors he could not stand. 7 in total, each with a personal history of rivalry or ideological conflict. The first was John Wayne. While audiences assumed mutual respect, Marvin privately felt otherwise. Their tension began during the Comancheros and resurfaced during award season. Having fought in World War II himself, Marvin resented Wayne's image as a war hero despite never having served. He once said Wayne could act like a soldier, but could never endure real combat. Their political differences, Marvin's liberal leanings versus Wayne's conservatism, widened the rift until Marvin's death. Another was Charles Bronson. Though both men played tough action roles, Marvin viewed Bronson as cold and self-absorbed, relying too much on physicality and lacking emotional depth. Marvin even joked, "Working with Bronson is like talking to a wall, except the wall has more personality." Robert Mitchum was another rival. Both shared rugged screen personas but clashed often. Marvin accused Mitchum of laziness and arriving on set unprepared or hungover, while Mitchum mocked Marvin's intensity. Their feud once erupted at a party when Marvin accused him of sleepwalking through films, and Mitchum, "At least I don't shout my lines like I am still in boot camp." Telly Savalas also made the list. Marvin disliked actors focused on image rather than craft, calling Savalas a peacock in combat boots for his self-promotion and on-set clashes. During The Dirty Dozen, their tension was so high that the crew sometimes separated them between takes. Yul Brynner was another name Marvin couldn't tolerate. He found Brynner's regal, self-absorbed style opposite to his own grounded approach, and once sneered, "Brina doesn't act, he waits for the light to hit him." Marvin even rejected a project upon learning Brina was cast, saying, "I'd rather drink battery acid than share a scene with him." Tony Curtis also drew Marvin's disdain. To him, Curtis represented Hollywood's artificial charm, polished looks without authenticity. Marvin, scarred by war, resented Curtis's pretty boy image, once saying, "Tony Curtis wouldn't last 2 minutes in a bar fight, yet they treat him like a legend." Perhaps the most surprising was Frank Sinatra. Though adored worldwide, Marvin considered Sinatra arrogant and disrespectful toward cast and crew. He criticized Sinatra's tardiness and ego, recalling that he expected entire productions to revolve around him. Their tension deepened after Sinatra withdrew from the Dirty Dozen, a move that left Marvin bitter. He summed up his opinion bluntly. Sinatra thinks the world owes him applause just for walking into a room. Marvin's list of disliked actors revealed as much about him as about them. A battle-hardened Marine with no patience for vanity, laziness, or inflated egos. Whether his views were justified or simply a reflection of his uncompromising nature, Marvin never pretended to like someone he didn't. His candor defined him to the very end. By his later years, heavy smoking and drinking had weakened his health. In December 1986, he was hospitalized with respiratory complications from coccidioidomycosis and underwent surgery for intestinal ruptures. On August 29, 1987, Marvin died of a heart attack at age 63. He was laid to rest with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery, fitting tribute to both the Marine and the Hollywood legend he became. Marvin lived and worked by one rule: be real, no matter the cost. His story reminds us that authenticity often comes with scars. If you enjoyed this look into Hollywood's rudest legends, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon for more forgotten stories from the Old West and classic cinema. Until next time, stay curious, stay legendary.